Hello students, a very good evening to all and welcome back to Daily Current Affairs of 30th of June. So these are the four important articles for today's discussion. So first article is about white rummed vulture. So we shall be discussing in detail about this topic. Second article is about the change in the rules for the scam compensation by the RBI. So here we shall be discussing when the compensation will be provided by the RBI, what were the earlier rules and what are the recent change in the rules. Next important article is about National Investment and Infrastructure Fund, that is NIIF. So recently government have increased the investment in this fund. And finally an important article from PIB, that is about Project Brahma. So today's discussions will be from The Hindu as well as PIB. So these are the sources for today's discussion. So starting with the first article. So first article is about white rummed vulture and the news is that geotagged white rummed vulture dies of electrocution in Nilgiris. So basically this news discusses about a protected species and that is white rummed vulture, and here this is a serious cause of concern. Why? Because India is making a lot of efforts to protect the population of vulture, because as you know that vultures are known as the nature scavengers, right? So India is making a lot of efforts to protect this species. And even after making a lot of efforts, earlier vultures used to die because of that drug we call as diclofenac, right? So now India has banned that drug. But even after banning that drug, vultures are dying because of some other reasons. So recently, the cause of death was the electrocution. So for example, this is a vulture. So in order to track any protected species, what we use, we fit a radio transmitter. We fit a kind of GPS device or a kind of radio transmitter so that we can track the path of vulture, we can track the nesting grounds, breeding grounds, migratory grounds, etc. etc. So in order to do all these things, we use a radio transmitter. So recently a vulture was fitted with a radio transmitter, and through that transmitter only we found out that because of electrocution this vulture died. Now see here, one interesting thing I would like to discuss before going deeper into the topic. That thing is, here vulture died because of electrocution, right? Because of that electricity pole and the transmission lines. So consider this is electricity pole, and no, okay, this is the complete electricity pole, and these are the transmission lines, right? So here, what question I would like to discuss here is, I am comparing vulture, that is a bigger bird, and smaller birds. So for example, I am first talking about the smaller birds. For example, I am talking about smaller bird. So the question here is, why generally small birds can easily sit on the transmission lines and they are not getting electrocuted, but the larger birds like vultures easily get electrocuted and they die. So the reason here is, see, the flow of electricity is similar to the flow of water, right? So what is the condition for the water to flow? You must be having the difference in height, right? You must be having a difference in potential. So in that manner, water will flow. Similar thing is with electricity. So if you want the electricity to flow, you must create a difference in the potential, right? So you must be having a potential difference for the electricity to flow. Now if I am talking about the smaller birds, so see, smaller birds have very small feet and they have very small feathers. So in that way, if a bird is sitting, if a bird is trying to sit on the transmission lines, small bird can sit only on one wire, right? So on this single wire the potential difference is same everywhere, hence electricity cannot flow from the bird and bird can safely sit on the wire. Now consider the second case. If I am talking about the larger birds like vulture. So for example, if vulture is trying to sit on the transmission lines, so vultures have very big feet also, and vultures have very big feathers also. So when the vultures sit on the transmission lines, accidentally they touch the two transmission lines. Either their feet will touch two transmission lines or their feathers will touch two transmission lines. So see, these two transmission lines are at different potential. Like we considered for the water, that water will be flowing when there is difference in height. So electricity will be flowing when there is difference in potential. Smaller birds could touch only single transmission line, no difference in the potential. But if vultures are touching two transmission lines which are at different potential, what will happen? Electricity will start flowing from the first wire. It will reach to the wings. It will reach to the body of the vulture, again to the wings, and finally to the second wire. So in this manner, complete electric circuit is completed. And if electric circuit is completed, electricity can flow. That's why vultures or other larger birds are easily electrocuted when they sit on the transmission lines. So this was not directly related to the topic, but at least you must have a very basic idea. Because nowadays, because whenever you go outside, easily you find a lot of birds sitting on the transmission lines. But why all of them do not get electrocuted? This is the very basic reason. Now, since we are talking about the white-rumped vulture, so quickly discuss prelims related facts. So see, first of all, the picture. This is the picture of white-rumped vulture. Let me change the color. Yes, so this is white-rumped vulture. So first thing is about the IUCN status, because India is making a lot of efforts to protect this vulture, and because the population has reduced a lot to around 90%, the population has reduced. That's why it is considered as critically endangered under IUCN. Second thing, it has been put under Schedule 1 of Wildlife Protection Act 1972. That's why it has been provided the highest level of protection. Now, if we talk about the distribution, so mainly white-rumped vulture are found in the Indian subcontinent. So basically, we can say that they are found in the South Asia. So in South Asia, mainly in India, Nepal, Bangladesh, and Pakistan, and that too in India, especially in Mudumalai Tiger Reserve, a lot of white-rumped vulture population can be found. Now, next thing is that why India is making a lot of efforts to protect vultures population. So just now we discussed, because vultures are considered as nature's sanitation workers. Why sanitation workers? See, for example, this is an animal. Now this animal has died. Now, after an animal has died, so that body will begin to rot, right? So foul smell will come out, bacteria will come out from that rotten body. So the main important work of the vultures is they feed on the dead animal carcasses. And if they are feeding on the dead animal carcasses, then the infection cannot spread, the bacteria cannot spread, the foul smell cannot spread, and hence the surrounding ecosystem or the surrounding living beings will not be affected. Second thing is that if any dead animal carcass is present, so the population of stray dogs in that region will also increase. So if vultures are feeding on these dead carcasses, so the population of stray dogs can also be controlled. So this is the important thing about the vultures. Now, if we talk about the reasons why the population of vultures are declining, so see, first reason is given in the news itself, like the electrocution from the power lines. So the primary reason why mainly the population of vultures have reduced is the use of diclofenac drug. So see, basically diclofenac drug was used for the cattle as a pain reliever, but when these cattle died, so the dead carcasses of these cattle, now vultures used to feed on these dead carcasses. So when this drug reached to the body of the vultures, so they cause the kidney failures, and hence the vultures die. So use of diclofenac drug was seen as an important cause for the death of vultures. Second was the electrocution from the power lines. Third was the poisoning from the contaminated carcasses. So apart from diclofenac, if any other contamination is also present in the body, then also vultures can die. And finally, habitat degradation and food scarcity. So see, just now we have discussed, right, that if vultures are feeding on the poisonous carcasses, then eventually they will die. So that's why food scarcity. And second thing is the habitat destruction. So if we talk about the habitat of vultures, so mainly these vultures live on the tall trees, right? Or they will live in the regions of grasslands. So because of deforestation, because of pollution and all these things, habitat destruction is happening, and that's why population of vulture at present have reduced to around 95%. So this is a major cause of concern. Now, next article is about recent RBI scheme, that is RBI's Digital Scam Compensation Pilot Scheme. So see, we will discuss about this topic in detail. So basically, here, if you are a victim of digital fraud, then there might be a possibility that RBI will provide you the compensation. So this is a summary of this news. Now, before this, to provide compensation, RBI has started a pilot scheme. This scheme will start from 1st of January 2027, and here will be some of the eligible cases. So it's not like whenever you are becoming the victim of digital fraud, every time RBI will provide you the compensation. It's not like that. So there will be some eligible cases which we will be discussing under this news. So see, to understand what is happening, what are the recent changes which are made by RBI, first of all, let's discuss the earlier changes. What were the earlier rules? So see, what happened in 2017, main rules were made for this these kind of banking frauds. So what were the provisions in 2017? See, in 2017, if you lose your money because of the unauthorized transactions means the transactions for which you have not given any permission, but then also you lose your money. So in that condition, you can receive the compensation. So what can be those conditions? For example, hacking has been done in the banking system, or no, any fraud has been done, or any technical failures have happened in the banking system. So because of all these conditions, if you are losing your money, RBI will provide you the compensation. So this was the earlier thing. But if you are losing your money because of digital fraud or because of social engineering techniques, then RBI will say that I am not giving you the compensation. So consider an example. For example, any fraudster is calling you, and that fraudster is saying that I am from CBI or I am from Prolims, and that person is threatening you to transfer the money in his account. So because of that, you, for example, you are transferring 1 lakh rupees in his account. So now RBI is saying that though you have transferred the money because of that threat call, but then also you only have given the authorization for the transaction, right? So in this case, I will not provide you the compensation, because earlier compensation can be provided only if there is fault of bank or only if the transaction was unauthorized. In this case, even under the threat, you have given the authorization for the transaction. So these were the earlier rules. But now RBI have changed the rules, and RBI is saying if the fraud is happening because of the social engineering techniques, for example, this example I have taken. So this is the example of digital arrest, that if any fraudster is calling you and he is threatening you to transfer the money, you are transferring it. This is the example of digital arrest. So RBI is saying if nowadays you are losing the money because of all these things also, because of these digital techniques also, then we can provide you the compensation under some eligible cases. So please remember, before this, you can receive the compensation only if the transaction is unauthorized, but now you can get the compensation for the digital frauds also. So now please understand yes. So now please understand that what are the categories under which you can get the compensation. So to tell the categories which are eligible for the compensation, RBI have mentioned a terminology, and that is fraudulent electronic banking transactions. Fraudulent electronic banking transactions. So what are those transactions? First will be the stolen credentials. So for example, using the fraud, using all these techniques, if fraudster is obtaining the OTP or your UPI PIN, banking passwords, etc., etc. So this thing will be covered. Second thing is the coercion. For example, the digital arrest, that any person is calling you and threatening you to transfer the payment. This thing will be covered. And third will be the unauthorized transactions. These transactions were covered earlier also, because these transactions were happening because of the bank negligence. So these were earlier also. So here new additions are the coercion as well as the stolen credentials. Now, these categories are eligible to receive the compensation, but then also there are some subcategories. What are those categories? You can get the compensation only if you report the fraud within 5 calendar days. Please remember, it's not like you will just inform, and it's not like you are sitting relaxed. Okay, fraud has happened, but I will receive the compensation. No need to worry. No. If fraud has been happened, then you have to report that fraud within 5 calendar days. Then only you will receive the compensation. Second thing is, the reporting must be through a specific helpline, and that helpline is National Cybercrime Helpline 1930. So here 1930 using this helpline, you have to report the crime. Then only you will get the compensation. Third is, they did not ignore fraud warnings. That means you cannot say that no, I lost the money because of these digital frauds, but the point here is that you are ignoring all the fraud warnings. So for example, see, when you are using any app to do the UPI payment, a message will be displayed that you do not need to enter UPI pin to receive the money. You are entering this UPI pin just to send the money. But even after that, if you are ignoring all these warnings, you will not receive the compensation. So here, third criteria is you must not have ignored any fraud warnings. And final is, they were not negligent. Negligent means, for example, you have not updated your KYC, or you have not updated your phone number or email ID. So see, if you have not updated these things, how bank will reach you? How bank will tell you that fraud is going to happen, right? So if you are not negligent, if you have reported the fraud within 5 calendar days using a specific helpline, then you become eligible to receive the compensation. So please remember, there are certain conditions to receive the compensation. Now, this is the very important thing about for the prelims, that what amount of compensation will be given. So here, the maximum compensation which can be given under this pilot scheme is, the maximum compensation can be given up to 25,000. And what amount will be covered? So here, maximum amount can be covered up to 50,000. So the loss of 50,000 is the maximum limit which can be covered. So if you have lost your money which is more than 50,000, this thing will not be covered here. So here, maximum amount which will be covered will be 50,000. Now this is the amount you lost, but what the compensation you will receive? So compensation you can receive at 85%, but the maximum amount of compensation will be only 25,000. So if the 85% of the amount you lost is, even if it is more than 25,000, you will receive maximum 25,000. So what is the maximum amount covered? It is 50,000. What is the maximum percentage? It is 25,000. And what is that percentage? That will be 85%. Important thing here is, you can claim this amount only once in your lifetime. It's not like every time you will be negligent and every time you will be receiving the compensation. No, you will be receiving the compensation only once in your lifetime. Now next thing is, yes, this we already discussed, that framework will not cover losses which are exceeding 50,000. So here I have given one example also. See, we will discuss through example. So for example, your scam amount was 10,000. You lost 10,000 rupees. So according to 85% compensation, you will be receiving 8,500. So 8,500, all the amount you will receive, because it is less than 25,000. Now consider the amount is 30,000 you lost. Its 85% will be 25,500. But the maximum amount you could receive is 25,000. So even if the amount you should get is 25,500, you will get 25,000. And similar thing, scam amount, if it is 50,000, then also you will be receiving 25,000 only as compensation. Now, next question which comes in the mind is, what if more money is debited after reporting? For example, scam has already happened. Within 5 days, you have reported that scam has happened. But even after that, if money is stolen from your account, then what will happen? So in that case, you do not have any liability, and complete liability will be of the banks. So banks will return your money back, because banks are responsible for all the unauthorized transactions which are happening. So these things were there in 2017 rules also. So if the fraud happens after reporting, or even after reporting, you will get your money back. Yes. Next thing is that who will provide the compensation? This is also very important question. It's not like all the bank only will provide you the compensation. Who will provide the compensation? So it will be shared between three entities. First will be the RBI. Second will be the customer's bank, so my bank from where the money has been stolen. And third will be the beneficiary bank. That means the bank where fraudster have deposited the money. So three entities will be involved: RBI, customer's bank, as well as the beneficiary bank. So important thing here is, RBI will bear the major share. That means around 3/4 of the compensation will be beared by the RBI. Yes. So this was the news. about this RBI's pilot project. Yes. Now comes another news, and that is about National Investment and Infrastructure Fund. So here the news is that Cabinet has approved the additional investment in National Investment Infrastructure Fund. So before discussing the details about this fund, let's understand this fund in very simple manner about National Investment Infrastructure Fund. So see, consider in this way that if we talk about government, so government have the responsibility to develop infrastructure, right? So for example, to develop highways, airports, roads, railways, etc., etc. So these are the responsibilities of the government with respect to infrastructure. Now the point is, government does not have sufficient money to entirely fund all the infrastructures. So what government will do? Government will create a fund, and government first put certain amount of money in this fund. Now seeing this, that since government is only putting fund in the government is putting amount in this fund, other investors will be attracted to that. Since government is putting money, so I think it must be safe, it must be profitable, so let's invest here also. So in this way, here will be pooling of public money as well as private money. In that way, you will be getting sufficient money to fund your infrastructure. So you can consider through this analogy. For example, you have opened a new restaurant, and in this new restaurant, if a very famous chef is coming to eat the food, then it will attract other people also, right? That if any famous chef is coming here, that means something might be here. So in that way, your customers will increase. So similar thing is happening here. If other investors will see that government is only putting money in this fund, let us also put money in this fund because it is completely safe and profitable. So that fund is National Investment Infrastructure Fund. So here there will be pooling of government money also as well as private investors money also, so that you have the sufficient money to fund the infrastructure projects in India. Yes. So let's discuss some of the prelims related facts about NIIF. So first thing is about the nodal ministry. Function I already discussed in a simple way. What is its function? To fund the infrastructure projects. Which is the nodal ministry? Nodal ministry will be Ministry of Finance. Department is also important. Under which department it comes? So department will be Department of Economic Affairs. So which ministry? Department, Ministry of Finance. Department, Department of Economic Affairs. And where are the headquarters? So headquarters are located in Mumbai. Now, please note that this fund was formed in which year? So this fund was formed in 2015. You have to remember the year also. Now, what is the nature of this fund? Nature of this fund is sovereign wealth fund. That means government, sovereign means invested by the government. So it is considered as sovereign wealth fund, which is linked to asset manager with independent decision making. So here you have to remember sovereign wealth fund. That means money has been invested by the government of India. Now let's discuss about the governing council of NIIF. This is also important for the exam. So this governing council is chaired by Union Finance Minister. Please remember, governing council of NIIF is chaired by Union Finance Minister. Now next thing is, let's discuss about the key features. So as I have already discussed that this is public private fund structure, right? So public private, how government will be holding 49% of the equity, and remaining 51% of the holdings will be given to the other investors. So for example, multilateral banks like Asian Development Bank or New Development Bank, these kind of entities. So please remember, government will be holding 49%, other entities will be holding 51%. Next thing is that this has been registered as category 2 alternative investment fund under SEBI. So what is the benefit of that? See, if this is registered under SEBI, then it will boost the confidence in the domestic as well as foreign investors, that since it is registered by SEBI, then it will be completely safe. We won't lose our money. Next thing is that what kind of entities are involved here, what kind of entities can invest in this. So any kind of entity, for example pension funds or multilateral banks, for example Asian Development Bank, New Development Bank, all these kind of entities can invest in this. Yes, so I think we discussed important things about this one. Now, one more thing I would like to discuss. Whenever you read about NIIF, you might have the confusion with National Investment Fund, that is NIF. Just now we discussed about NIIF. You must have the idea about NIF also. So NIIF is Investment and Infrastructure Fund, and its major purpose is to fund the infrastructure project. If we talk about NIF, which is National Investment Fund, its major purpose is to store the money which you get after disinvesting the PSUs or any government entity. So, for example, this is one public sector entity. You have disinvested or privatized this entity. So, after disinvesting, you will get a lot of money. So, that money you will be putting in this NIF or National Investment Fund. Now, NIIF was established in 2015, we already discussed. NIF was created in 2005. Now, you have to tell me in the comment section, for NIIF, we discussed that this comes under Ministry of Finance. You have to tell me in the comment section, this National Investment Fund comes under which ministry? And if possible, tell me the department also, because here we discussed department also, here we discussed ministry also. Yes. Now, our last topic is about Project Brahmang. So we won't be going much deep into the topic. We will be discussing just the points which are important for the prelims. So if we talk about Project Brahmang, so first thing is this is a project which comes under Border Roads Organization. Please remember this for the prelims. Now, main purpose of this project is to build the infrastructure units in the frontier lines or infrastructure units in the border areas of India. So what is Project Brahmang? The main purpose of Project Brahmang is to develop high engineering infrastructure units in the border lines of India. And which all areas will be covered? Here areas of Arunachal Pradesh as well as Assam will be covered. So border areas in Arunachal Pradesh as well as Assam will be covered under this project. Now, what is the aim? Why we are doing? Why we are building infrastructure projects? So we are building infrastructure projects here because during any time of emergency, if your border regions are easily connected with the mainstream India, then it will become easy for the no army members or the army personnel to deploy to go to reach to that region. If we have proper roads, railways or bridges, it will become easy to mobilize the troops. So in that way, Project Brahmang becomes very important. So what is important for prelims? What is the objective of Project Brahmang? Objective is to build the infrastructure projects in the border regions. Which all regions will be covered here? So regions of Arunachal Pradesh as well as Assam will be covered here. It comes under which entity? It comes under Borders Road Organization. Now you have to tell me in the comment section that Borders Road Organization comes under which ministry? This you have to tell me in the comment section. Now, if we talk about the history, so this project Brahmang was started on 29th June 2011. That's why we are discussing now. It became operational on 3rd of December 2011. So this date is very important, that it started on 29th June 2011. Now, practice questions for you. Yes. So here first practice question is, radio tagging of wildlife is primarily used to first monitor movement and migration, second is study habitat use, and third is assess survival and mortality. So try to give answer in the comment section. Next is, which of the following are examples of social engineering attacks? First is digital arrest scam, second is fake customer care scam, and third is OTP phishing. So here also I think we discussed this topic in detail. So try to give answer in the comment section. Yes. So that's all from my side for today. Thank you and have a nice day.